Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Welcome to Śrī Radha Vinod Bihari Mandir.
Jai Ho, Śrī
Gopinath Bhavan, Śrī Vrindavan Dham. Ki Jai.
Jai.
Śrīla Gurudev
Ki
Ki
Jai.
Jai. Śrīla Prabhupada Ki
Ki
Jai.
Jai.
Rupanuga Gauri Guru Varga Ki Jai.
Jai.
Patit Padma Śrī Nityananda Prabhu Ki
Ki
Jai.
Jai.
Prem Purushottam Sachinandana Gaur Hari
Ki Jai.
Radha Vinod Bihari Ji
Ki Jai.
Radha Ramana Ji Ki
Jai.
Jai. Giriraj Mahārāja
Ki Jai.
Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Hare
Jai.
Krishna Mahamantra Ki Jai.
Jai.
Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki
Ki
Jai.
Jai.
Shri Gaur Premanande
Hari Hari
Bol.
Bo. Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam. So, as usual, we will begin with Mangalacharan, the auspicious invocation, calling on the mercy of our Gurudev, all of our Gurus in our Guru Parampara, going back to the original Guru, Krishna himself, and his Guru of Prem, Srimati Radhika. We will start with Mangalacharan, page 1 in this book, Sri Gauri Giti Guccha, or let me just double check if Jiva
I don't see Jiva Pavana Prabhu has posted it yet, but rest assured, there he did, just now.
Okay.
Mangalacharna has been posted. Thank you so much, Jiva Pavana Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat. I'm not getting a picture yet.
There's a severe lagging, not lacking, lagging.
Lagging.
But this one shows it.
Okay. There it is. Okay.
See how long it takes?
Yes. Dandavat Pranam. Radhe Radhe. Vandeham Shri Guru Śrī Dāmodarāṣṭakam Śrī Vaishnavāśca Śrī Rūpam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvekam Sadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pradhan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamsya Om Ajnanatimidandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Śrīmad Bhaktivedānta Nārāyaṇa Namine Shri Krishna Lila Katane Sudaksham Kaudarya Madhurya Gunaishcha Yuktam Varam Varinyam Purusham Mahantam Nārāyaṇam Tvam Shirasham Namami Tridandinam Bhakta Shiromanim Cham Shri Krishna Padāvridvaika Hridni Chaitanya Lilamrita Sarasaram Nārayanam Tvam Sakatam Prapadye Namam Vishnupadāya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhaktivedānta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे नमो विष्णुपादाय गौरप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमद् भक्तिप्रज्ञान केशवयतिनामिने अतीमर्त्यचरित्राय स्वश्रितानक्षपालिने जीवन्दुःखे सदर्ताय श्रीरामप्रेमदायिने नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिसिद्धान्त सरस्वतीति नामिने श्रीवर्षभारती देवी गणिताय कृपाभये कृष्ण सम्बन्धविज्ञान दैने प्रभवे नमः माधुर्योज्ज्वलप्रेमाभ्य श्रीरूपान्वभक्तिदा श्रीगौरकरुणाशक्ति विग्रहाय नमोऽस्तुते नमस्ते गौरवाणी श्रीमूर्तये दिनपालिने रूपान्तं विरुधाप सिद्धान्तध्वन्तहारिणे नमो गौरकिशोराय साक्षान्वैराग्यमूर्तये विप्रलम्भरसम्बोधे फलं जायते नमः नमो भक्तिविनोदाय सच्चिदानन्दनामिने गौरशक्तिस्वरूपाय रूपाङ्गवरायते गौराविर्भावभूमे स्वं निर्देष्टा सजनप्रिय वैष्णव सर्वभौमश्री जगन्नाथायते नमः वञ्चाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरद्विषे नमः हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकाकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते सप्तकञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये जगतां सुरतोपङ्गो मम मन्दं मतिर्गति मत्सर्वस्वत्पदाम्बोजो राधामदनमोहनो दिव्यवृन्दारण्यकल्पद्रुमनो श्रीमद्रत्नागारसिंहासनस्थो श्री श्रीराधा श्रीलगोविन्ददेवो प्रेष्ठानिः सेव्यमानो स्मरामि श्रीमन्त्रसरसारूढे वंशिवततस्थितः कर्षन्मेरुस्वनैर्गोपी गोपीनाथ श्रीस्तुनः वृन्दाये तुलसीदेवये प्रियायै केशवस्य च कृष्णा भक्तिप्रदे देवी सत्यवत्यै नमो नमः पञ्चतत्त्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपस्वरूपकम् Padam Pratipadam Purnamritaśvananam Sarvatma Snapanam Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Hare Nam Hare Nam Hare Nameva Kevalam Alom Naskeva 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 Gati Anyatha Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Dandavat Pranama Vaishnava. When I was singing Mangalacharan, I came to Namo Mahavaranyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate, and at that point in time, I remembered a beautiful interaction with Srila Gurudev that took place in Fiji at the home of Hari Punja, one of the 5 Punja brothers. And at that time, there was one yogi who was there, very healthy, over 70 yogi, and he would do some kind of cleansing thing with water. So drinking a lot of water and then forcing it out. But he was so healthy that he actually was glowing, and he was also a Sanskrit teacher. So they arranged for him and Srila Gurudev to meet each other. So he was there, and Gurudev came to the place, and we were doing kirtan. And when Gurudev came, he greeted him with so much affection, so much kindness, like they were best friends. They had never met each other before, but Gurudev was just so kind and affectionate and welcoming, and they were laughing and reminiscing. It was so sweet. And then they started having a discussion about Sanskrit. And mind you, Gurudev said about himself, I don't know Sanskrit, I'm not a Sanskrit scholar. But why are so many big Sanskrit pundits coming to me? Because I have served my Gurudev a little. So they're all coming to ask me questions about refinements in terms of tattva siddhanta and rasa, the conceptions of ras. They all come to Gurudev. So he was having a discussion in Hindi with this yogi. And then at a certain point, Gurudev looks over at me. Do you know this prayer? Namo Mahavaranyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate. He said, you know this prayer? I said, yes. He said, can you chant it? I said, okay. And so I said, Namo Mahavaranyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvise Nama. Gurudev said, is it Pradayate or Pradayine? I'm at Krishna Prema Pradayate. I said, Pradayate. And Gurudev said, are you sure? I said, yes. And then he looked at this Sanskrit scholar yogi and he said, is it Pradayate or Pradayine? And this yogi, he said, well, technically, according to the rules of Sanskrit grammar, it should be Pradayine. He said, but maybe. And Gurudev said, but it was composed by a Mahabhagavat Vaishnava, Śrī Dāmodara Gosvāmī. And he said, and according to the laws, the rules of Sanskrit grammar, whatever the Shuddha Bhakta, whatever the pure devotee of the Lord speaks, it is always right. And he began laughing, that other one. He said, yes, you are right, you are right, you are right. And so Gurudev just showed all of us that Brahm Pramada Karanapatava Vipralipsa, the tendency to make mistakes, to be illusioned, to have imperfect senses, and the tendency to cheat others does not occur within these sayings, the words, the revelations of the Tattvadarshis, the pure devotees who know and see and experience the truth, meaning experiencing their relationship with Krishna. So just in that sweet interaction, Gurudev showed that. And so even this one verse, Namo Mahavaranyaya, every time I say Te, I remember Gurudev. So somehow he has linked himself through that verse. And then also when we came to Normally in the songbook you say Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda and then Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And some years back we were in Switzerland at Ananda Dham, the ashram which is, looked over by Krishna Chandra Prabhu. And one devotee asked, can we say Chaito Darpana Marjanam and Hare Nam when we do this Mangalacharna? We said, why not? And so we started doing that, and it kind of stuck. And I felt, especially when this whole crazy time in this world started, who knows what was going on, but suddenly they locked down the world, all flights stopped, everyone had to stay at home, they said there's a pandemic and this and that. So many people were in fear, other people immediately started saying it's a conspiracy and started fighting and arguing, and it was a whole thing. And that's all part of the Bhava Maha Davagni, means the blazing forest fire of material existence. All of the fighting on either side about things which actually have nothing to do with the absolute truth. It's all temporary of this world. And so I was meditating on why are we saying this? Because, at least from my perspective, we have been given the order by Srila Gurudev to try to preach his mission and to help his disciples. Not that we don't need help ourselves, but anyhow, whatever we have been given, we should share that with others. One day he told in Navadvip, you know this word preaching? He said, I don't like it so much. He said, I like better sharing. Sharing. What inspiration you have received, you should share that. So he liked the word sharing. So, just to help remind all of us, including myself, what is the important thing? Harinam. Thinking about, speaking about Krishna's names, forms, qualities, pastimes, his pure devotees, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, the mercy that we've been given to chant this verse is very, very powerful before coming to Hare Krishna, and also this Hare Nama Kevalam. So it's with intention that we're chanting these verses to remind ourselves. Today I saw something interesting. There were a few, I'm going to use the word senior Vaishnavas, who said, I'm leaving Facebook for good. Bye, see you later. They're stopping free speech. They're stopping free speech about mundane subject matters. They are not stopping free speech about bhakti. So if someone is leaving Facebook or anything due to their vegam, their vacho vegam being cut for material things because they want to express their material thought processes, then I get it. But if they're not stopping our ability to communicate and your ability to communicate about Krishna, about the mercy of Guru, about the mercy of Gurudev and Prabhupada and our Guru Parampara and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Vrindavan, if they're not stopping that and it still gives the opportunity to share that to thousands or millions, by all means, we should utilize it to its maximum potential. Why should we cut ourselves from something which gives us that capacity? That's not yukta vairagya, that's, what do you call it? Very narrow. If we have the capacity by any means whatsoever to somehow or other share this amazing message of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with others, then we should utilize every means within our capacity to share that. That's what Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada means by every selfless welfare worker of Gaudiya Math. That also means all societies and institutions who have come from that should be ready and willing to expend a minimum of 200 gallons of their own blood for the spiritual upliftment of every individual jiva of this universe. That's a tall order. So we have that capacity somehow in this day and age to be able to connect with maybe 10, 20, 30, 40, 100, or 1,000, or 100,000, or even millions at the touch of a button. What are we going to share? Cheto darpanamarjanam bhavamahadavagni nirvapanam param vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. We should be sharing this. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said this is the greatest welfare work. Para upakara. This is the greatest mercy to the jivas, to somehow bring them to knowledge of Harinam Prabhu and how to love and serve Sri Harinam Prabhu, Radha Krishna Jugala. So that just came into my heart as I was singing Mangalacharan, and I thought I should share it with all of you. Jai Jai Shri Guru Prema Kalpataru, page 29. And if you do not have a songbook, you have Jiva Pavana Prabhu, who very kindly and mercifully posts the bhajans in the comment section of the thread, along with their translations, and frequently followed by beautiful commentaries and purports of our acharyas. And Lavangalata Didi, who is just here, Dandavat Pranam, she posts the page number. So thank you both, Dandavat Pranam. Jai Jai Shri Guru Prema Kalpataru. Jayo Jai Shri Guru Prema Kalpataru. Jayo Jai Shri Guru Prema Kalpataru. Gurudev ki jai, Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai, Gurupal Guru Varga ki jai, Shri Guru Parampara ki jai. Ibaro Kurunakoro Vaishnav Goshai, page 44. Ebaro karuna karo Vaishnava Goshai, Ebaro karuna karo Vaishnava Goshai, Patita Pavano Tomar asha charonero dhuli narotame koro doya yaponaro boni narotame koro doya yaponaro boni devaro While I was singing this bhajan, two Vaishnavas came into my mind. One was Srila Gurudev and the other was Srila Bhaktivedānta Gosvāmī Mahārāja. And Srila Gurudev Bhaktivedānta Nārāyaṇa Gosvāmī Mahārāja. On this tune, this particular rag that we sing it for Ebaro Kurunakoro, we also sing it for Jayanilo Prematana, and sometimes Jaya Radhe, Jaya Krishna, Jaya Vrindavan. Right? Jaya Radhe, Jaya Krishna. So, on the last line of this one, and also in Jaya Anilo Premadhana, one time Srila Gurudev corrected and taught Sudevi, and another time he corrected and taught me. And there's something to that when the Vaishnava is hearing the bhajan, that Vaishnava, even if we might not be qualified, still because they are always absorbed in Krishna, they can take anything from anywhere and apply it to Krishna.
Gold from a dirty place.
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did that. Upon hearing what we would consider mundane love poetry, he was remembering, of course, his own mood, which is tasting Radhika's mood, remembering Krishna at the time of Ratha Yatra. At that time, Srimati Radhika is calling to Krishna that I don't like to see you in such a place, in Dwarka. Really, I want to meet with you only in Vrindavan. But the love poetry by Chandidas, I believe it was at that time, was saying, oh, how we used to meet under that tree next to the Reva river, Betasi tree. Oh, how I long for those days. So hearing such a poem, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is remembering the moods of Radhika calling Krishna to come to Vrindavan. That I long for those days. That is when you were the most happy, and I want to see you happy. And so it might be that any one of us might be full of all kinds of anarthas. But we have seen that either when I or Sudevi or any other person was singing or performing any drama, you would see Gurudev weeping and crying. It's not because of us. It's because of his own movement of his own heart, but maybe there's something in that bhajan which is creating that udipana or that stimulation to remember those pastimes which are making him weep. And so, when we were singing, somehow it created a disturbance because our syncopation was off. So the syncopation being off at that point, how did he teach us? Prati janme kori asha charanera dhuri narotame koro doya yapanaro boli. So somehow that second to the last word is kind of stretched out and held a little bit longer, and then the very last word is said kind of quickly. And that's the way Srila Gurudev personally taught us. So sometimes, previously we would say, Prati janme kori asha charanera dhuli. Nope. Or charanera dhuli. Nope. Gurudev didn't want either of those. He wanted charanera dhuli. He sang it with us, and I remember he did it 3 or 4 times until we got it right, and he was doing it in front of everyone. Apanaro boli. So, in that way, then, his heart, his mood can flow. When we're singing, what is our singing? It's babies saying goo goo gaga. Anyhow, if we have an intention somehow to try to at least please our Gurudev by our endeavor, he can take that essence of that. Oh, you have some affection for me, some attachment to me, but I don't take anything for myself. Everything that comes to me, I give to Krishna. So whatever affection, whatever attachment we have for Gurudev when we're making any endeavor, then he will take that, purify it, and offer it upward to his Gurudev, and so forth, and it will be offered to Krishna. So then, how can I please Gurudev? He's giving something. Here, like this, do it like that. Again and again, trying to teach us. Then gradually, we should try to learn, oh, this is how it is pleasing to you, then let me make that endeavor to do that. And from that, of course, we know that bhakti or devotion can increase within the heart. So I just wanted to share that with you. Also in Jayanilo Premadhana, what page is that? On the 4th verse, that's page 99. We're not going to sing it now. But on the 4th verse, which is the really intense, sad one, that it is the separation from the Vaishnava is more painful to me, causing so much pain to me that it would be like soft pillows to bash my head against a stone. And this fire of burning separation is so intense that it would be cool for me to enter into fire. So I shall bash my head upon a stone or enter into a fire. Oh, where shall I go to find Gauranga, the treasure house of all divine qualities? Pashane kutibo matha analepo shibo. So that last syllable, the last two, shibo, would come in quickly. Gauranga gunero nidhi kothagene pavo. Like that. That's how Srila Gurudev taught us. So I just wanted to share that with all of you. And the other thing, when I was singing Ebaro Kurunakoro, I remember Śrīla Bhaktivedānta Gosvāmī Mahārāja. It was the first time we were going to see him, and we were sitting in the park just outside of the temple in Faridabad, south of Delhi, and he was going to come and speak. So at that time we were singing some bhajans, and I was leading this bhajan, Ebaro Kurunakoro, Vaishnava Goshai, with anticipation that I was going to meet this Vaishnava. It so happened that all of the persons we trusted the most were all sitting there. So many senior Vaishnavas, Prabhupada disciples, very serious, staunch practitioners, followers of our Gurudev, disciples of Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Maharaj, disciples of, it was just amazing. The group that was present there was everyone that we had really given the most respect to, seeing their longevity and their practice. And so they were all waiting there, and so I was singing this bhajan, Ebaro Kurunakoro, and at that time, when I was like halfway through, Srila Bhaktivedānta Bharati Maharaj entered that assembly, and I continued singing it until it was finished. And he said, "Oh, you sang this bhajan?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Oh, stand up and speak something about it." So for me, this was like the continuation of where Srila Gurudev was just having me stand up and speak publicly in front of him. Of course, we were traveling around and speaking about him, but not physically in front of him for years. But in front of Gurudev, it's a different thing to speak in front of Sri Guru. Sudevi, can you tell the South Africa
What he said?
what you said and then what he said?
He told me,
Come close.
he said, oh, I want to be able to call on you to speak. And I said, no, Gurudev, I can't, I'm too afraid. And he said, no, I want that on any subject you should be ready at all times. And I said, Gurudev, you're really scary. I get afraid, you know, like when I was talking to him in a darshan, I wouldn't shut up. We have some darshans where we're just talking a mile a minute. But then when he was on his Vyasasan and he was giving lectures, his mood was very heavy. It was weighted. He was representing, you know, Shastra. So I said, no, you're really scary. And he said, why? I'm your father. Why? He said, I'm your father. And I said, no, I get really scared. I said, even Ban Maharaj gets scared. And I said, he's shaking. And Gurudev started laughing. And he said, yes. He said, even I used to be like that. I used to be afraid in front of my Gurudev. He said, I used to have to speak and I used to become afraid. And he said, but anyhow, and I said, okay, but you have to warn me ahead of time. And he said, no. He said, no, I want that at any time on any subject I can call on you. And I was like, no, please.
I think Vasanti sent you the recording of that darshan.
There is a recording. Yeah. There were a couple of darshans like this, a couple of them. One was also with Kishori, where he said, I want that you should know all of the sweet pastimes of Krishna and that I can call you to speak at any time on anything. So Gurudev wanted us all, even he never called on us, but anyway, he wanted us to be prepared and he wanted us to be, you know, able to glorify Krishna, to glorify Sri Guru, to glorify the Vaishnavas, that we should all as disciples at least have something. Gurudev famously said that many times, even when he was a brahmachari and entered the mat, that on the appearance and disappearance days of Bhaktivedānta Saraswati Thakur, that Param Gurudev couldn't speak. There were times he was just weeping and he would just motion for them and they would have to stand up and speak. Gurudev, I think once he said like 2 or 3 weeks of being in the mat, he had to stand up in front of Param Gurudev and speak on Srila Bhaktivedānta Saraswati Thakur.
Wow.
So we should be able to do that for at least our Param Gurudev and Param Gurudev.
For the pleasure of our Gurudev.
Yes, at least we should always be able to speak on Srila Prabhupada. We should always be able to speak on our Param Gurudev, Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj, our Gurudev, and also always Srila Bhaktivedānta Saraswati Thakur, Bhaktivedānta Thakur, these prominent acharyas that are very close to us. We should always be able to quote something from them and speak something of their glories. It's very, very important, and it will give us a mood of relationship to these exceptional stalwart Vaishnavas, and then in turn we will gain mercy from those who are near and dear to them, including Krishna, Mahaprabhu. So it's a beautiful cycle of mercy when we are inspired and can glorify.
Thank you. I remember the first time Gurudev actually called me up to speak, like properly. For years, because I was born in ISKCON and we had met Prabhupada many times. Because Los Angeles was his world headquarters, and so he would come there quite often. And we would get cookies from him, we would be there, we remember him, we have pictures of us with him, and our parents and everyone else never let us forget it. And so, every year, so many devotees, all of the Prabhupada disciples would get the opportunity to speak on him. And because there were so many, Gurudev actually allowed it to continue for 3 days. And each person only got 10 to 15 minutes maximum. And still, it took 3 days. And so, for many years, I was always like there. as not Prabhupada's disciple, but someone who had met him and was inspired from him. And I always wanted to speak, and I was always thinking, oh, why are they never letting me speak? I want to speak. I met him too. I came from there. I was born there. And my ego was kind of getting a little bit hurt every single time. Finally, I was resigned to the idea, you know what? Apparently, I'm not qualified. I have no qualification to speak. These persons are all his disciples. And I just saw him and got cookies from him. So why do I think I deserve to speak or anything like that? So I was finally resigned to not speaking. And then, I think it was Padmanabha Mahārāja, maybe he was that time in charge. And he said, you're going to speak this time. For sure. And I'm like, nah, I don't need to. No, you're going to speak. Guaranteed you're going to speak. So be ready. And I was like, okay, well, maybe, we'll see. And so,
3 days
it was, I think, 2 full days of glorifications, morning and evening. Gurudev had the devotees speaking. On the 3rd day, he said, is there anyone left? And most of those glorifications were done when Gurudev wasn't physically present, because he was there for a little bit and then he would go back to his room, for health reasons or whatever. But he was sitting there, and there were 1,000 devotees in the temple room, and Padmanabha Mahārāja said, just one, Kishori Mohan. And I was like, oh my God, just one and me. And I was like, Gurudev said, okay, come on up. So I had my paper, my notes, with just, the main points I wanted to speak on. And as I was walking and I got close to Gurudev, Gurudev said in the mic, all you Western devotees, you need your paper, your notes, and this and that. And I realized that was a little bit of a, I was like, oh man, you have to have your paper. You can't just speak from your heart. And I threw the paper to the side, and I turned around, because I was walking toward him. I turned around and I saw the crowd, and suddenly it was just me and Gurudev and a 2D poster. I couldn't see in 3 dimensions. Means I was scared and I was shaking. And I just did the best I could at that time to speak on Srila Prabhupada. And just as Gurudev was physically departing from our vision in this world, he was starting to have me stand up and speak in front of him. And my introduction to Srila Bhaktivedānta Mahārāja was that he had me stand up and speak on this bhajan, Ebaro Kurunakoro Vaishnava Gosai. And he said, and whatever you don't speak, or whatever remnants you leave, then I will speak on that. And he actually spoke on what we spoke about yesterday, this pastime of Ambarish Maharaj and Durvasa Rishi. And especially what this line here, Haristhane aparadhe, tare harinam tamastane aparadhe, nahi koeran. Durvasa went to Nārayaṇa begging for shelter. And Śrīmad Nārayaṇa told him that you cannot remove a thorn from your head if it goes into your foot. In other words, if you're offending my devotee, you can't come to me to have that thorn removed. You must approach that devotee. And he also spoke, Sadhava Hridayatvam, Mahyam Sadhava Hridayatvaham. The same thing. Tomar Hridaya Sada Govinda Vishnam. The Supreme Lord is telling Durvasa that I don't know anyone but my devotees, and they don't know anyone but me. In fact, he says, Aham Bhakta Paradhina. I am not at all independent. I am dependent on my devotees. Therefore, here it says, Govinda Kohina Mama Vaishnava Param. And Tomar Hridaya Sada Govinda Vishram. Govinda is always residing within the heart of the pure devotee. And Govinda, Krishna himself, is saying, my Vaishnava, my devotees, they are my life and soul. So from this, Srila Bhaktivedānta Mahārāja was establishing the supremacy or the superiority of taking shelter of Krishna's pure devotees. That is the heart of Krishna. So the heart of Krishna, it might seem very far away, but if you just go to any pure Vaishnava, that's how close the heart of Krishna is. In that connection, Srila Gurudev said once, because we were put into a position of responsibility as members of Gurudev's advisory council for his Sangha. He selected 100 members, temple presidents, sannyasis, preachers, and this and that. So we were included in that group. And at a certain point, from that group, there was a a group of elected members who would be executive committee, meaning whatever they decided as a group, we would have to try to implement that. And so we were also included within that. And Srila Gurudev, we had a meeting with him. And at that point, there was a concern, and Pujyapat Madhav Maharaj brought it up. Why is all of the money, which is being given by all of the devotees from around the world, only being utilized for building temples and centers in India, but nothing in the West, anywhere? So Madhav Maharaj brought it up to Gurudev around the massage time. And he said, oh, Kishori Mohan's concerned for this. And I was. And so Srila Gurudev said, the one we're doing now is in Puri, and that's the last one. After that, any of the money can go to any temples in the West. He said, but anyhow, he said, where do you want to do parikrama? In the West or in the Dham? And we said, in the Dham. He said, so because everyone wants to come and do parikrama in the Dham, and that is where we go to all the pastime places of Krishna, then we need facility for everyone. So we need to have centers and facility for Harikatha and for Prasadam and everything else in the Dhams. And that made perfect sense. And then Srila Gurudev added something very interesting, which I would like to share with all of you, because it's quite powerful and quite important. He said, because Krishna has performed his pastimes in his dhams, his footprints are everywhere in the dhams, and those of his devotees. So all great personalities, all transcendental personalities from the entire universe come to the dham. Maybe we see them, maybe we don't. But they come to the dham to take the dust from the dham on their heads. I'm going to just tell you, like Akrur, when he came to the dham and he saw the footprints of Krishna, he was weeping and rolling in the dust and touching those footprints in complete ecstasy. I just added that. Gurudev didn't say it at that time, but I'm giving it as an example. So he said, because so many transcendental and great personalities come to the dham to receive that kind of transcendental benefit, the opportunity of meeting with those kind of personalities is greatly enhanced by coming to the dham. Does that make sense? It's not that we cannot meet them outside. Many of us, most of us have met them outside the physical dham, although those personalities are themselves tirtha, and they are carrying the dham in their heart. But when we come here, it might be that you might just turn around the corner and see someone like our Śrīla Prabhupada, which is exactly what happened to so many, or our Śrīla Gurudev. He was there, staying at Radha Damodar temple. He was making his plan to follow the order of his Guru Maharaj. He was preparing, and in the biography, one of the biographies, it is said that he used to go begging door to door. He wasn't begging for money. What was he begging for? Paper and pencils or pens, so that he could write his manuscripts. He was begging for paper and pens. At that time, so many persons saw him. Most of them at the time maybe didn't know or realize, probably did not recognize or know what he would do. But so many were seeing him, so many were speaking with him. And he's our Śrīla Prabhupada. And they didn't know. So the opportunity of bumping into someone like that, meeting with someone like that, any saint, any sadhu, is greatly enhanced by being in the dham, because they are coming to the dham to serve the dham. I would say to take advantage of the opportunity of serving the dham, serving the dust of the dham, serving Śrī Radha and Krishna. So when Srila Gurudev said that, it really impressed within my heart the potency of coming to Vrindavan. In fact, he ordered us. It was a little difficult for us. We were a party of 3 back in the day. Myself, I shouldn't put myself first. The main preacher was Vishaka Didi, and then there was Sudevi and myself. And as we were traveling around the world, it was quite expensive for world tickets for 3 people. So we couldn't afford to come to India more than once a year. But Srila Gurudev ordered us, even if you cannot come to Navadvip, still you should come to Braj Mandal Parikrama every year. And so for us it was imperative that we would come here, and it would be a full month, a full saturation with Srila Gurudev and so many Vaishnavas going to all of the holy places, hearing the Harikatha in those places. So it was very powerful and really amazing recharge of our spiritual batteries, so to speak. So I just wanted to share that with all of you, what Srila Gurudev said about the benefit of coming to the Dham. And this is in conjunction with Shastra. It is said that Kirti Kurvanti Tirthani, Śrīmad Bhagavatam tells, that the pure devotee is himself a holy tirtha, a holy place of pilgrimage. And in fact, millions of people come to the Dham, to the holy place, to wash their sins away. Gangara parashavele pashtate pavan, to purify themselves of the sins. But darshane pavitra karo eto maragun, just by seeing a Vaishnava, it is their quality that millions of lifetimes of sins are dissipated. And they come to the Dham to literally evaporate these sins which are left here by so many sinful persons. How powerful, how pure, how transcendental are these pure devotees. So to enhance that opportunity of somehow or other meeting with a pure devotee, we come to the Dham. Even Gurudev was going around the world inviting us to come here. Srila Prabhupada was going around the world and saying, this is our goal, Vrindavan. This is our goal. So, Dham is very, very powerful. And the pure devotee manifests the Dham to us. They say we should not try to see with our eyes. Rather, we should see with our ears from the Harikatha which is spoken by Shri Guru. Now I have to give you an example of that. When I was 9 years old, I came to Vrindavan for the first time. My father and mother were going to deposit me into Vrindavan Gurukul, which they did. But the first day we came, somehow we ended up on Harinam Sankirtan. Nagar Sankirtan means going through the streets in Loy Bazaar, doing Kirtan. And it was interesting because in America they always kept a close eye on me, but here they didn't seem to really care. They disappeared. They went back and I was still on Harinam, and I was like, where'd my parents go? I'm in a completely foreign country and I didn't speak the language, but they just left me and they went back to the temple. And I was thinking, that's kind of odd. I'm 9 years old. But apparently they just trusted. Everyone here says Radhe Radhe, and everyone here loves Krishna. So nothing, no harm, no foul, right? So at that time, as this Harinam Sankirtan was going on, I was getting a strong urge to go to the bathroom. And so I went to one shop. You have a toilet or bathroom? They're like, bathroom? No one knows what a bathroom is. If you say toilet or WC, then they understand. WC. But I went from one to the next, and they all just went like this. One after another, pointing. And somehow, from Loy Bazaar, I ended up all the way at Madan Mohan. If you know how far that is, that's far, especially for a 9-year-old who's never been here before. So I ended up at Madan Mohan, and I'm like, I need a toilet. And I was starting to turn different colors. And they were just like, and then I was like, where? And the guy brought me there, and he showed me the area in front of Jamuna. And he said, everywhere is a toilet. I was like, what? And he said, because people were saying to Jamuna, Jamuna. And I said, where's Jamuna? Where's Jamuna? And then he said, that's Jamuna. And I looked and I thought, no, that's not Jamuna. That's something else. That's not Jamuna. I know what Jamuna looks like. I read it in Krishna book. Crystal clear waters with the banks overflowing with most valuable gemstones and diamonds and rubies and big, beautiful trees which are falling over and dripping honey and flowers and fruits and so many cows. And that's how I had seen Jamuna through the medium of Prabhupada's books, through the medium of Krishna book. And then when I came and saw with my own eyes were telling me that is the sewage. So all of our acharyas tell us, don't try to see with your eyes. Rather, you should see through the ears, as we hear from those pure devotees who are seeing the real form of Vrindavan. Vishaya charya kabe, shuddha haveman, kabe hamaheravo, Śrī Vrindavan. When my enjoying tendency is removed by the mercy of the pure Vaishnavas, and my mind is purified, shuddha haveman, kabe hamaheravo, then I will be able to behold the real Vrindavan. Otherwise, as Śrīla Bhaktivedānta Gosvāmī Mahārāja said, even if you are here physically, still you are blind. A net of Maya, you will see that, the garbage, the this, the that, all of the problems and everything else. This means I am not in Vrindavan. But how are the pure devotees seeing Vrindavan? Very different way. Shriya kantaha kantaha paramapurusha kalpataravo druma bhumischintamani ganamani toyamamritam katanatyam kataganam natyam gamanavapi vamshi priyasaki chidanandam jyoti paramapi tarashradyam apicha sayatrakshirabhi shravati surabhibhyascha sumahan nimeshaddatyo vavrajati nahi yatra pishamaya Maje tadvipam tamahamiha golokamitiyam pirantaste shantakshati virlacharaha katipaye. It's in Brahma Samhita. It's the next verse after the last one that says Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. The next one is that. And it's saying that in Vrindavan, every word is a song. Every step is a dance. The flute is Krishna's Priya Sakhi, means dearest girlfriend, the flute, because the gopis are jealous of that flute. Hey, that piece of bamboo, basically how dare it takes our property, the touch of the lips of Krishna, that bamboo stick. So it says that everything is self-luminous, Chidanandam Jyoti. Everything is self-luminous, everything is conscious. Śrī Vrindavan is not what we see with our material eyes. Śrī Vrindavan is what we see through hearing the Harikatha of those who see with divine eyes. And by that Harikatha, our hearts will be purified, by which one day we will be able to see and behold Śrī Vrindavan. So, Kishori Didi just wrote, each and every time I was bathing in Jamuna, I became incredibly sick due to the sewage. After so many times, I declined to bathe in the Jamuna now. However, we are always told to look at it from the spiritual perspective. Could you explain a bit? Both ideas are there. We cannot pretend that we are only seeing from the transcendental perspective when we are clearly not. Those personalities who are seeing everything from the transcendental perspective, they have a different result. But because we are still absorbed in material consciousness, then we also experience the material result. Same with Mahaprasad. Maybe it's very, very rich, because we're looking at it for our enjoyment or from a material perspective and not directly as Krishna, then Krishna is reciprocating with us according to how we are approaching him. And yet, I specifically recall when our Srila Gurudev warned all of us who had still quite a lot of material consciousness pervading our hearts and minds, be careful. So many pollutants, so many toxins are being dumped into Jamuna. If you go in there, you will become sick and die, he would say. And don't eat the food on the roadside. You know those bread sandwiches that are dipped in batter and then deep fried. Yeah, that's a snack here. I don't know how they do it, but they have strong livers. Anyhow, so Gurudev said, if you eat all these pakoras and all of these things on the side of the road, you will become sick and die. So, what can we do? There's the material reality, and because we are also living in material consciousness, then we will also experience the material effect. And if we are living in pure transcendental consciousness, the external material effect might be visible, but it won't affect their inspiration or their connectedness, because they're not affected by the material nature. And actually nothing can poison the pure devotee, as nothing could poison Prahlad Maharaj, nothing could poison Srila Prabhupada, nothing can poison any pure devotee, because Krishna is personally looking after them. He's personally taking care of everything. And yet, for us, sometimes they had to manifest an example. Be careful. Like that time when Kusum Sarovar had hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of dead fish floating upside down. And it was very stagnant and smelly and, yeah.
So Prem Sarovar or?
I remember Kusum Sarovar, maybe Prem Sarovar, no, Surabhi Kund.
There was another place where he said, don't touch it.
Yeah, Gurudev said, don't touch the water. There's poison there, don't touch it. So then we would honor it from a distance with the vision that we had received through the ears of the spiritual master. So, if that is our experience, then we must be a little careful. We should try not to be offensive, but we should acknowledge that our own condition is such that whatever is happening to me is a reflection of, now this is not about you, all of us have experienced this, it is a reflection of the own dirt, the filth in my own heart. And that is now manifesting externally. I've had opposite experiences as well. I had a ingrown toenail that was severely infected just before coming to India, and I was bathing it in special Epsom salts water and putting antiseptics, antibiotics, and everything. And for a month and a half, it didn't go away. It was still so painful and so red and swollen and everything. And then we were doing Govardhan Parikrama, 1996. First it was Keshi-Ghat, and somehow there was some black sewage gook, and my foot went into it. I was thinking, oh my God, my foot's going to fall off, it's going to get gangrene, I'm going to die, this and that, as we all did in the first years. And then we went to Govardhan, and there was a big, massive rainstorm, and it was flooded, but it was over-flooded with sewage and everything else, and I had to walk through it. They carried Gurudev, but the rest of us walked through it. The next day, what was infected dried up and fell off. And I was like, well, that's pretty interesting. Apparently, whatever bacteria was trying to eat my toe had no chance against the bacteria here. So it actually had a beneficial effect. Thank you, Jiva Pavana Prabhu, for posting that beautiful prayer. So we should still see it from a spiritual perspective to the best of our ability, but we should also acknowledge that technically, according to the World Health Organization, Jamuna River is the most polluted river in the world, unfortunately at this time. And hopefully after some time they will learn to not add and dump all pollutants into it. Gurudev, I remember being in the room with Srila Gurudev, and some politicians had come to see him, and Gurudev was begging them. He was begging them, please allow even a little bit of original Jamuna water to flow in this Jamuna riverbed past Vrindavan. Please allow some Jamuna water to flow, because actually she's been dammed up so many times from the Himalayas down past Delhi again and again, and that water is taken out, brought into any city, utilized, and then dumped back into the riverbed, and then again the next city takes that water like that. So it's unfortunate that they don't have any system in place. When I was 9 years old, the Japanese government donated, I think it was $20 million, I remember at that time, to do a whole project for sewage treatment and everything, so it wouldn't flow into Jamuna riverbed. And they had built a little something and nothing ever came of it. And since that time, so many other projects have been started and stopped. And this is really improper management, or some would say corruption, that makes this happen. However, this is not the main point of our conversation. Our conversation is about our current reality, where I am in material consciousness, so I must also be aware of my current situation. I should not do foolish things which endanger myself. If I get deathly ill every time I do something, then common sense would say, maybe be a little bit careful. So instead of putting it here, maybe put it here. Like that. And still offer pranam and understand there's one history. I hope it's a real history because I've heard it many, many times. There was a parikrama of Srila Bhaktivedānta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. And at that time, there was one devotee on that parikrama. He was just criticizing everything left and right constantly. And he was criticizing the sewage, and he was criticizing, look at all this, look at this, look at that. And at a certain point, Srila Bhaktivedānta Saraswati Prabhupada said, that's it, I'm not going to continue. I'm not going to be part of this unless this person here basically sees that that is not ordinary sewage, that it is actually transcendental, and honors it. And of course, all of the devotees are looking at him like, you better. So that very night, he had a dream, that person. After he had taken a little bit of that as achman, he had a dream. And in that dream, they were bathing the feet of Srimati Radhika, and he was drinking that charanamrit of Srimati Radhika. So by the vision of the pure devotee, and by the mercy of the pure devotee, what our imperfect vision of the Dham might be, can be transferred to a completely different vision. Why not? I look at Jamuna and I think, oh, sewage. This is my mundane consciousness. The pure devotees look at Jamuna and they think, Bhrataratakasya pattane vipattiharini prechayati papino pipapi sindutarini Līla madhuri virapya shesha chitta bandhini mampunatu sarvadara vinda bandhu nandini. Srila Gurudev said that Jamuna is liquid bhav. She is the medium by which one's heart's prayer, one's love and affection can be transmitted to Krishna, and vice versa. His affection and response can be transmitted to us. Her complexion is blackish. Why? Because she's so absorbed in Krishna. Being so absorbed in Krishna, she also takes on that complexion. And due to Krishna bathing in her waters, she's able to fully embrace Krishna from all sides. So they see her in a completely different light based on their transcendental vision. And we look from our material vision and go, oh my God, like this. Gradually, through the association of the pure Vaishnavas, instead of seeing through our mundane lenses, our mundane filters, our material, critical filters, by their association, we will be able to actually see the transcendental form of the Dham. Vrindavana Ramya Sthana Divya Chintamani Dham. Divya, transcendental, Chintamani, where every thought manifests as a reality in service to Krishna. The Charanamrit of Srimati Radhika, different vision. Yes, it is a different vision. So I have seen Srila Gurudev also endeavoring to clean up Radha Kund, Surabhi Kund, other places, to encourage people not to throw their garbage, to replant trees, to clean up Jamuna, to allow real Jamuna water to flow, telling us don't drink it. It's very polluted, you'll become sick and die, and things like that. So although he has transcendental vision, he's also aware of our capacity in our current nature. And also doing Dham Seva. So somehow they're able to see from both perspectives. What is our condition? What's going on in this world? And also they're able to simultaneously be present in that transcendental realm. So in their sadhak group, one way, in their siddharup, another way. Seva sadhak rupena, siddharupena, chatrahi. So gradually over time, Goro More Atma Sat, we pray to Gurudev. Srila Gurudev himself said, it's translated as make my Atma, Goro More Atma Sat, like you or like yours. But Srila Gurudev translated it, he told this to Rajendra Nandan Prabhu, that it means make me yours. Really that means as you see, as you understand, I will also see and understand. I will take your conceptions, your understanding, your vision, and I will accept that as my truth. And this comes over time with practice, holding on very tightly to the lotus feet of Sri Guru, his moods, his conceptions, and following his instructions. And gradually, the reality, which is much more amazing than we can ever imagine, Srila Gurudev said, will manifest. And all of this other stuff will just disappear into what it really is. All of our material vision really, ultimately, is Maya, illusion, that which is not. So from here, I hope that my answer was sufficient to kind of add some balance to your question, Didi. And thank you for your question. Shuniyachi sadhumuke bole sarvajan, page 51. It's funny, when I started today, I was thinking we spoke a lot on Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada 3-4 days. We spoke a lot on Srila Gurudev 3 days. And today I was thinking, if any of you have any questions about any of the subjects we have been discussing, that it would also be good to discuss them. So I really appreciate when questions come, because it helps me to remember so many beautiful teachings of Srila Gurudev and other acharyas for myself. And maybe if you haven't heard those things, then it would also be beneficial for all of you. So don't hesitate if you have any questions. No question is a bad question. It may be that I cannot answer it, and if I can't, then I'll just let you know. And if I have heard something from any of our acharyas or our Gurudev, or read anything, then I will share what I have received. Page 51, Shunyachi sadhumuke bole sarvajan. Shuniyachi sadhu mukhe bole sarvo jana Shri Rupa kripayo mere jugala chara Shuniyachi sadhu mukhe bole sarvo jana Prabhu Sanatana Gora Parivaro Sabe Miri Vancha Purano Goro Yama Sabe Miri Vancha Purano Goro Yama Shri Rupero Kripa Jero Ama Prati Shri Rupero Kripa Jero Ama Prati Se Padaya Shrayo Se Mahārāja Se Padaya Shrayo Se Mahārāja Prabhu Lokanato Kave Sange Daya Jave Prabhu Lokanato Kave Sange Daya Jave Shri Rupero Pado Padme More Samarpite Shri Rupero Pado Padme More Samarpite Enoki Hori Moro Narvasaki Gane Enoki Hori Moro Narvasaki Gane Anugato Narotame Koribe Shasane Anugato Narotame Koribe Shasane Shuriyachi Sadhu Mukhe Bole Sarvajamana Shri Rupa Kripayo Nire Jugala Charana Shuriyachi Sadhu Mukhe Bole Sarvajamana Shri Rupa Kripayo Nire Jugala Charana Rupa Sanatan Jaya Rupa Sanatan 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 Prabhu Hai 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 Shri Rupa Goswami Pad Ki Jai Śrī Sanātana Gosvāmī Pad Ki Jai Excuse me. When I was a young upstart, I wasn't really, but maybe a little bit. I thought I had a really smart question. And so I asked it to a visiting sannyasi. It was about Mahaprasadam. And it's related to the subject we were just speaking. If Mahaprasad is transcendental and pure and no longer has a material connotation to it, it is transcendental, then why can't we have gulab jamuns on Ekadashi? That was my question.
It's an important question.
And honestly, the sannyasi kind of stumbled on the answer. Stumbled, meaning not really giving me a good answer. I wasn't really satisfied by it. But later on, by the mercy of Gurudev and Vaishnavas, I came to the understanding that because I am looking at that substance as something for my enjoyment, Krishna is reciprocating likewise. So instead of looking at it as the mercy of Krishna, I am looking at it as I want to enjoy it. Krishna is not something to be enjoyed. Krishna is the enjoyer, and we are to be enjoyed. That is the nature of reality. But if I am trying to be the enjoyer of Krishna, well, that's our problem in the first place. That's what Srila Prabhupada says everywhere. Because of wanting to be independent and wanting to be the enjoyer, like Krishna, that's why we're here. Everything belongs to Krishna. Priya. I thought you were going to say, if Mahaprasad is transcendental, why does it go off? It would be nice to look into that. So, because of our material vision and our material desires and our desire to be the enjoyer, then we are getting the result of looking at that for our enjoyment. For any pure personality, transcendental personality, like I've read from Srila Gurudev, do the gopis follow Ekadashi? Probably not. Maybe some of the elders do, but the young Brajbasi kids, meaning the eternal associates of Krishna, are they following Ekadashi? Not always. But everything they do is transcendental and perfect and pure, so there's no need for that. They don't need to follow our sadhanas. But for us, if we're looking at this substance, which is technically prasadam, for our own material enjoyment, then we also get the effect of trying to enjoy materially. Because we're looking at it as material substance, to be enjoyed by me. We're pretending that it is spiritual substance, but looking at it as material substance. So therefore, we receive that effect. But for the greater benefit of all devotees, because of our conceptions, our consciousness, that even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed as Acharya, as Jagat Guru, how one should be on Ekadashi when offered grain prasadam. They offered it to him and said, you should take it now. Because according to the Shastra, one must always take prasad as soon as they receive it. Otherwise, it's considered offensive. So they offered Mahaprabhu Jagannath Prasad. And Jagannath Prasad, he doesn't have to follow Ekadashi. And it has so many rice and dal and all kinds of grains and beans and everything in it. So what did Mahaprabhu do? He said, yes, of course, just now, I will take it. But how wonderful is Mahaprasad? Mahaprasade Govinde Nama Brahmane Vaishnave. Oh, it's not different from Govinda. And he began glorifying Mahaprasad, doing kirtan of Mahaprasad, circumambulating the Mahaprasad for the whole night, glorifying and doing kirtan of this Mahaprasad, which is not different from Govinda. And then the next morning, at the time of Paran, breakfast, then he honored that Mahaprasad. So he showed by his own example for our benefit. He doesn't need to follow. He makes the rules. He doesn't have to follow them. In the material world, maybe whoever makes the rules, the laws, has to follow if they're a democracy, I think. But Krishna's not a democracy. He's the transcendental autocracy. He is the supreme controller of everything except for Srimati Radhika, who is the controller of Krishna from the perspective of Rupanuga Vaishnavas, which we are all aspiring to be. So, from that material perspective, we will have some material result. In the same way that Krishna, in the form of his holy name, Hare Krishna Mahamantra, or any of his holy names, what happens if you approach that Mahamantra with a heart full of material desires? Are you going to get the spiritual results? Maybe something very gradually. But But actually, the result of nama parad, according to Shastra, the offensive chanting of the holy name, is the increase of material wealth, the increase of material sense gratification, the increase of material position, pratishta, power, name, fame, adoration, and all of that. So you're getting a material result by vibrating the holy name with a mundane mindset. If you have a mood which is against Krishna and against his devotees, against prema itself, then the vibration of Krishna's holy names will have what result? Very disastrous. Why? Because Krishna takes personal offense to it. It hits him in the heart like a thunderbolt. You're talking about me and you're chanting my name, but your mood is like this against my devotees, against my form, my pastimes, my qualities, against love itself, against Srimati Radhika. That is aparadha, against Radha. This hits his heart like a thunderbolt. The same mantra which is chanted in different moods will have different effects. But if Mahaprasad is non-different from Govinda and his name is non-different from him, then how we approach Mahaprasad will also have different effects. If we're approaching it for the purpose of enjoying it, that'll be very different than approaching it with a mood of offensiveness, and also very different than a mood of service. We say prasada seva korite hoya. Serving Mahaprasad is different than prasada bhoga, enjoying that prasad. We're not approaching it for that purpose, although enjoyment may come as a result, but one should approach prasad in a mood of service, remembering and understanding what it is, who it is, what pastimes are involved in that manifestation of this mercy. Prasad literally means mercy, right? I'm trying to think. Yasya prasadad bhagavat prasado yasya prasadan nagati kutopi. They're not talking about food, they're talking about mercy. So this is the manifestation of Krishna's mercy. So the question has come, would be nice to also say, well, if it is transcendental, why does it go off? I don't know the answer to that question. I have to question some senior Vaishnavas or any pure devotee about that. It may be that it is only going off according to our mundane vision. In the same way that Jamuna may be polluted according to our mundane vision. In the same way that we see Sri Guru or any Vaishnava grow old and then leave this world and maybe have some kind of disease. But according to Śrīla Rupa Gosvāmī Pad in Śrī Upadeshamrita, Drishtai Svabhava Janitayar Vapushashya Doshayar Na Prakritattvam Iha Bhakta Janasya Pashyat Gangam Vasam Nakal Budbudubena Pankar Brahma Dravatvam Apagachati Niradharvaya. Just as Ganga should always be considered pure and transcendental, despite the mud and the bubbles and the dead bodies that may be floating through her waters, still she is pure and transcendental. In the same way, although there might be some apparent disease or external affliction or maybe aging or anything in any pure devotee, we should understand that they are always transcendental, and we should not judge them from material perspective. Rupa Goswami tells this. Just as Ganga is always transcendental, so is the pure devotee. Brahma Dravatvam Apagachati Nirdhanmai. They are always transcendental. Mahaprasad is always transcendental as well, but we see Mahaprasad according to our material vision, then we will see that there is decay and dwindling. So usually at that time, we take this Mahaprasad and present this Mahaprasad as mercy to the jivas of this world who might not ordinarily get an opportunity. Namely, well, just outside, so many cows are there, dogs, monkeys, and all those ones that you cannot see who are also very hungry for Mahaprasadam. the bacteria and insects, so they will devour that and take that. Raghunath Das Goswami, he was even honoring that which apparently was going off, which even the cows would not eat. He would wash it and take that. So, depends on one's level of depth of vision, their devotion, how one will see all of these transcendental personalities. Srila Bhaktivedānta Mahārāja, he explained that Krishna is only seen through the eyes of love. Premanjana churita bhakti vilochanena santak sadaiva hridayeshu vilokayanti yang shyama sundar machintya gunasvarupam govindam adipurusham tamaham bhajami. Those eyes which have been smeared with the salve of love and affection, they can behold that beautiful Tribhanga Lalit, threefold bending form, Shyama Sundar Krishna. But if we have material vision, even if Krishna were to stand in front of us, we might not recognize or know it with our mundane vision. We might not understand. In fact, in Śrīmad Bhagavatam, when Krishna entered into the wrestling arena of King Kamsa to wrestle Chanuda and Mushtika, Krishna and Balaram entered. Everyone who was present saw him according to their own moods. The young cowherd boys saw him as their best friend. The elders who were parental age, they saw him as their own son. All the young girls saw him as Cupid personified. Kamsa saw him as death personified. They all saw him according to their own individual perspectives. If we don't have love for Krishna and he stands in front of us, how will we see him? We might not even recognize him. In fact, Madhavendra Puripad, even though he had love and affection for Krishna, when Krishna appeared in front of him in the form of Gopal, he said, "No one in our village can go hungry. My mother has sent me with something for you. Here, take this milk." And Madhavendra Puri was completely smitten by his beauty, but didn't recognize or didn't understand. Only that night, when he went to bed, he woke up, he had a dream, and he woke up realizing, well, it was Gopal himself. And then he was going, I didn't recognize Krishna when he was standing in front of me. So Krishna can also do this to the pure devotee. What to speak of someone who does not have love and affection for him? So all of our Guru Varga, all of our Guru Parampara, what is their aim and goal in preaching, in sharing with us? To somehow or other inspire within us and attract within our hearts a desire to love and serve Krishna, by which we will be able to see them. Rupa Raghunatha pade hoide akuti kabe hama bhujabose jugale piriti. By the mercy of Rupa and Raghunath, we will be able to behold beautiful forms of Shri Radha and Krishna. And in the Tulsi Bhajan, Nayane Hiribo Sada Yugal Ruparashi. I don't know what verse that is. More e abhilas, vilas kunje diovas, Nayane Hiribo Sada Yugal Ruparashi. My only desire, more e abhilash, vilas kunje diovas, is that I can reside within the kunjas, where the beautiful transcendental pastimes of Radha and Krishna are taking place. Then, Nayane Hiribo. By my eyes, I will always be able to behold Hiribo. Sada, always. Jugala Rupa Rashi. The beautiful, ras-laden pastimes of Sri Radha Krishna. So by the mercy of the pure devotees, then we will be able to have that divine vision and that divine seva. But the mood must first appear within our hearts. That's why the goal of our practice in sadhana is bhav bhakti, to attain that transcendental sentiment. And the goal of that transcendental sentiment or bhav bhakti is to attain prem, divine love and affection for Krishna, which must be so powerful that even if there is every reason for it to break, not only will it not break, but it will continue to increase forevermore. So now, we will call out for the mercy of Shri Nityananda Prabhu and Shachinandan Gaura Hari together. Where's the Nitai Gaur Bhajans? Devadi Deva Gaura Chandra Gauri Dasa Mandir, page 85. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Devadi Devo Gaura Chandra Gauri Dasa Mandire Devadi Devo Gaura Chandra Gauri Dasa Mandire Nityananda Sange Gaura Ambika Devi Hare Nityananda Sange Gaura Ambika Devi Hare Devadi Deva Gaura Chandra Gauri Dasa Mandire Devadi Deva Gaura Chandra Gauri Dasa Mandire Charu Karuna Gunjahara Vikramane Jivare Charu Karuna Gunjahara Vikramane Jivare Virinchi Senya Pada Pada Lakshmi Senya Sadore Virinchi Senya Pada Pada Lakshmi Angakanti Prachayarunayam Vare Radhikayu Rago Premo Bhaktivanchade Kore Radhikayu Rago Premo Bhaktivanchade Kore Devadi Devo Gaurachandra Gaurīdāsa Mandire Devadi Devo Gaurachandra Gaurīdāsa Mandire Shachi Sukha Gaurachandra Anandito Yankare Shachi Sukha Gaurachandra Anandito Yankare Ashanda Khanda Nityananda Samyeram Vihare Ashanda Khanda Nityananda Samyeram Vihare Devadi Devo Gaurachandra Gaurīdāsa Mandire Devadi Devo Gaurachandra Gaurīdāsa Mandire Nityananda Gaurachandra Gaurīdāsa Mandire Nityananda Gaurachandra Gaurīdāsa Mandire Gaurīdāsa Karto Yasho Sarvo Jivo Udhare Gaurīdāsa Karto Yasho Sarvo Jivo Udhare Devadi Devo Gaurachandra Gaurīdāsa Mandire Devadi Devo Gaurachandra Gaurīdāsa Mandire Nityananda Sangye Gaura Ambika Devi Hare Nityananda Sangye Gaura Ambika Devi Hare Devadi Devo Gaurachandra Gaurīdāsa Mandire Devadi Devo Gaurachandra Gaurīdāsa Mandire Sacinandana Jai Gaura Hari Sacinandana Jai Gaura Hari Jai Sacinandana Jai Gaura Hari Sacinandana Jai Gaura Hari Nitai He Gaura He Nitai He Gaura He Nitai He Gaura He Nitai He Gaura He पावन श्री नित्यानंद प्रभु की जय। प्रेम पुरुषोत्तम सच्चिदानंद गौर हरि की जय। Today, for some reason, I cannot tell you why, but a tune was going on in my head. Bandhu Sange Jaditava Ranga Parihas, page 124. Bandhu Sange Jaditava Ranga Parihas. It's the one we heard from Srila Bhakti Kamal Govinda Mahārāja. Page 124. Bandhu Sange Jadi Tavo Ranga Parihas. Bandhu Sange Jadi Tavo Ranga Parihas. Bandhu Sange Jadi Okay. Somehow I ended up on Kanhaiya Radhika Rani, page 363. I remember being, especially in Fiji Islands during Gurudev's programs, and there, sitting next to Krishnadas Prabhu, he was singing all of these Hindi kirtans because, well, most of the people there are, well, who are attending the programs are Hindi speaking. And so he was introducing so many different kirtans. This one, Hamare Braja Ki Rakhwale Kanhaiya Radhika Rani, page 363. And it was very beautiful to be singing all of those with him. And Srila Gurudev was also appreciating them. हमारे ब्रज के रखवाले कन्हैया राधिका रानी 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 हमारे नैनों के तारे कन्हैया राधिका रानी हमारे नयनों के तारे कन्हैया राधिका रानी सहारा बेसहारों के कन्हैया राधिका रानी सहारा बेसहारों के कन्हैया राधिका रानी हमारे ब्रज के रखवाले कन्हैया राधिका रानी हमारे ब्रज के रखवाले कन्हैया राधिका रानी 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 हमारे नैनों के तारे कन्हैया राधिका रानी हमारे नयनों के तारे कन्हैया राधिका रानी सहारा बेसहारों के कन्हैया राधिका रानी सहारा बेसहारों के कन्हैया राधिका रानी हमारे ब्रज के रखवाले कन्हैया राधिका रानी हमारे ब्रज के रखवाले कन्हैया राधिका रानी 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 कन्हैया Vrindavananandini Shrimati Radharani ki jai, Shri Krishna Kanhaiya Lal ki jai. Hare Krishna. What's the time? I think we still have a little time. We're going to sing Damodarāṣṭakam. Page. Whoever remembers this page and posts it first gets a plate full of dahi vada with tamarind chutney. Hare Didi ki jai. Oh, you got pizza, baby.
We can share it.
You can't have dahi vada anyway. It's not good for your stomach. Śrī Dāmodarāṣṭakam. Namami Shwaram. Wait, do we have a light? No, we don't. Candle is here. Shri Dāmodara ki jai. Yashoda Damodara ki jai. Namami Shwaram. All together. Sachidananda Rupam Satkundalam Gokule Brajamanam Yashoda Piyodukam Radhavamanam Param Rishamatyam Tato Drupyadokya Namami Shwaram Sachidananda Rupam Satkundalam Gokule Brajamanam Udantam Murnetam Yukmam Vrijantam Karahoja Jumeno Chatam Karitram Muhushashakam Padrirekham Prabhantam Sitagraiva Damodara Bhaktivedānta Namami Shwaram Sachidananda Rupam Satkundalam Gokule Brajamanam Iti Drikashani Ananda Bunde Sakha कृपा दृष्टि दृष्ट्याति निगम्बतानु गृहाणि क्षमामव्यं वेद्यक्षिदेश मामीश्वरं सच्चिदानन्दरूपं Namaste Sudame Suratirtidhamne Padiyodharayatha Vishwasya Dhamne Namo Radhikaya Padiyapriyaya Namo Nantarinayo Devaya Radha Damodar ki Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna